Okay, so here is another method that you can use if you're running a single deep or even a two brood chamber box and you realize that there's very little honey storage and you would love to be able to put a frame of honey right there on those bees. But the bad thing is you have no honey left. You can literally take and purchase one of these frames, or you could purchase our pre-assembled wooden frame with plasticell. This is called our easy frame. And you can take a Dadant AP23 winter patty and you can peel one side off as I'm demonstrating here. Take and apply it to the comb, pressing it in really good and strong and tight. You do that on one side. Flip it over. We're not going to take the paper off just yet. And then on this side, we're going to do the same thing, which I've already pulled the paper apart just for the sake of speed and forward. And now that I have that ready, I'm going to go back over here to the colony. I'm going to take this rim spacer set off, and I'm going to pull one of these frames out. And we're going to pull this one out right here. Another one out, and we're going to pull one more. Now we are getting close to where the bees are. We actually have a frame of honey here, so this is not necessary. We're just doing it for the sake of showing you a way and a different method of using this product. The other frame actually has brood on it, so I'm not going to pull it out because it is a little chilly, but I'm going to take and apply this frame of winter patty right here in between the brood. Normally it would be in between where the brood was, and in this case it's just going to be on the outside of the brood. And I'm going to put that frame of honey back in there. I'm going to put my other frame in, and then this frame that was either undrawn or the frame that was already used that had honey in it that's been consumed, we're just going to take it out. And I'm going to go ahead and put my rim spacer set back on. And I'm going to go ahead and put this other pollen patty on the top just for extra feeding for the bees. I do want to make note that you do not have to peel the paper off of any of our pollen patties. The only reason I peeled the paper off to apply it to a frame was so that I could attach that to the frame and it stick right there between the cluster. Hello, my name is Clay Guthrie with Dadant & Sons, and here we are going to take a look at the colony that we put the patty frame in last week. I want you to know that the AP23 winter patty is primarily a carbohydrate patty. It runs about 2.5 to 3% protein and has about 2 to 2.5% fat, but it is there to give the bees what they need during the winter time. And as you can tell, the patty that we left on the top, it looks like the bees have absolutely just tore it up. And they're taking that along with the sugar water that I was feeding them. And the sugar water that I was feeding them, it did have Honeybee Healthy in it, but it also had Fumagillin B. It was my last dose of Fumagillin B to treat the bees for nosema. But I want you to take a look. Notice that the bees are mostly young looking bees. It doesn't look like they're old, discolored, and weak looking bees. The bees in this colony look young and healthy and strong. They kind of look fat, so to speak. And that's the kind of bee that you want going into the winter. You don't want to have a old bee that is at the end of its life cycle. You want to have a bee that is ready to withstand whatever winter brings its way, and that's able to protect that queen. And that's why it's so important for a to have a regimen set up to treat your bees, whether it be with for for varroa mites, for nosema, for any other kind of pest and disease, and then to also have a proper nutrition plan in place for your honeybees. And I'm a firm believer that AP23 should be a part of that nutritional plan for your bees. And I've had multiple people tell me that if it had not been for the invention of the date ant winter patty, that they would have gone out of business a couple of years ago. And so, to hear people talk about it that way is really inspiring. So now that you've heard about other beekeepers, let's take a look at this frame. The bees have worked just a little bit on the patties that were attached to the frame, but looky there, they have drawn some comb. Whether they were getting the carbohydrate from the sugar water or from the winter patty, it's hard to tell. But the bees will continue to work the winter patty as they get hungry. And like I said, it's only October the 26th today, and they really do not need a winter patty at this point. We just put it on for demonstration. But I do want to encourage you and tell you to make the AP23 winter patty part of your winter routine and your fall preparations. One thing here also to remember is never separate the brood's nest. That's so important. What I believe I'll do is put this frame back in the colony and let the bees continue to work on it. And in my experience, I've only used this method, 4 to 5 times, and that's with overwintered boxes that were very, very low on resources and on overwintered nukes. But let's look at what a healthy, strong colony looks like. As you can see right here, you've got all kinds of young bees. There's not a whole lot of old bees, as we were talking about earlier, but you've got young bees, and they've got nectar stored in the frames, and then on the outer peripheral parts of the frame, where it's capped, there is honey, and in the middle there we see some brood. And what I'm wanting to look for, though, is where they are storing some of the pollen, because they will use not only nectar during the winter months, but they will use pollen as well, because the queen never really shuts down her brood production. She just reduces the amount of eggs that she lays in any given day. But if you think about it, around the end of December or the 1st of January, nature has a good ideal that within 30 to 60 days, depending on where you live, the plants are going to start producing nectar and pollen. And in order for them to survive, they have to have large numbers. And so, the queen will really start rearing a good bit of brood around that time. And so that's another benefit of the winter patty, is that there's constantly a source of protein readily available. But let's look at this frame here. Once again, a lot of baby bees that have just hatched, and those eggs, those cells are refilled with eggs. There's some brood about to hatch. So this colony is doing what I want. This queen is laying lots of young, new bees to be ready to go into the wintertime. And as we flip it over, let's see if we can find some pollen. And looky there is plenty of pollen stored in the comb. And there's our queen as well. She's running around, real pretty queen. And there is different colored pollen. Maybe that's where they're storing some of the AP23 pollen patty that we gave them earlier. But there's brood around that as well. And that's exciting to see that in the middle of the cluster where the bees are going to eat, they have honey and they have a certain amount of protein. So these products have been proven and tested not just by our company and not just by myself. I hate to be a person who's just trying to push something onto somebody else, but when you have beekeepers who are purchasing a product and seeing a difference in their bees, and it changes the way that they're able to keep their bees, then you know that you're really onto something. Just like the beekeeper I mentioned earlier, he was literally putting on pollen patties, or the winter patties, in the dead of winter. And he is an experienced beekeeper, and he was not doing the method that you're seeing here. He was putting them on the top with a shim, but without the advancement in beekeeping of the date ant winter patty, he would have not had the resources to keep bees at the level that he keeps them, because he wouldn't have had the manpower nor the time to create candy boards and other things. So consider using the date ant winter patty, and consider the AP23 pollen patties, and now you have seen 4 different methods of how to apply them. If you have any questions, please feel free to give us a call. You can call us at the branch. The Frankfort, Kentucky branch is 502-848-0000, or the 1-800 number is 1-888-932-3268. Or you can go to our website, www.dateant.com, and take a full tour of all the different beekeeping supplies that we offer, and some of our other feeds that we offer. And we just wish you happy beekeeping, and take care, and we'll see you the next time.